Star Wars 7x7, episode 2415, in which I have the temerity to disagree with the author of How Fascism Works and How Propaganda Works, who is a distinguished professor of philosophy at Yale University and someone I respect and admire, and yet disagree with about the firing of Gina Carano. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy. And thank you so much for joining me for it. So yeah, Star Wars joy is a little bit, a little bit dampened in terms of the discussion today. Well, I guess it depends on, how you feel about the firing of Gina Carano. And yet I will say that regardless of how you feel, it is just a sad situation overall. The character of Cara Dune was a compelling character, and it would have been nice to see that character continue. We don't yet know if the character will be recast or if the character will just disappear and not continue, but be that as it may, that will be revealed in due course. Going back to what I said at the top, so Jason Stanley is, here's the official bio, the Jacob Urofsky Professor of Philosophy at Yale University. Before coming to Yale in 2013, he was Distinguished Professor in the Department of Philosophy at Rutgers University. And on Twitter, he said, "I watch Mandalorian with my kids and strongly disagree with the decision to fire Gina Carano for her speech on social media. I don't agree with her political views, but she has every right to express them. Undermining democratic freedoms is no way to support democracy." So he's correct in that undermining democratic freedoms is no way to support democracy. I agree. However, where I disagree with him is that we're not talking about democratic freedoms in this particular sense, because her democratic freedoms have not been violated. She still has free speech. The First Amendment is about government not putting any guardrails on free speech. Of course, with, certain limitations like not yelling fire in a crowded theater when there is none, for example, just to use that very commonly cited example. But Lucasfilm deciding whether to keep Gina Carano as Cara Dune in The Mandalorian is not a democratic decision. It is not a free speech decision. It is a business decision. It is simply a business decision and nothing more than that. Now, coincidentally, on February 9th, there was a report that was citing unnamed sources saying that Gina Carano had actually apologized and extended some sort of olive branch to Lucasfilm and was trying to mend fences and, make it so that everything, could go forward naturally. And then, of course, the next day, the very next day, what are the chances? That is when all heck broke loose. The initial report came from IO9, and the Hollywood Trades confirmed it shortly thereafter. And during the course of the last 24 hours, there has been additional information, but some of the basics are the same. The Lucasfilm statement saying Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm, and there are no plans for her to be in the future. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable. Now, was she actually fired? Maybe technically not, because it depends on whether she was under contract for season 3 and future seasons of The Mandalorian. And if that contractual stuff hadn't been worked out, then technically she's not fired, she's just not rehired. And, it's kind of remarkable for Lucasfilm to be putting out this kind of statement about it, but it is also indicative of a trend that is developing with Lucasfilm, where they are continuing to be more direct in their positioning in regards to the public statements of people who represent the brand. I think back to Rachel Butera, who was supposed to be doing the voice for Leia Organa in Star Wars Resistance, and prior to the series debuting, which would have been, I guess in 2018, is that right? When the when the confirmation hearings for Brett Kavanaugh were happening and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford testified and Rachel Butera went online and did an impression of her vocal fry. It's a particular type of voice situation that Dr. Ford has, and it was widely seen as mocking Dr. Ford, which in the context of her testimony, not a very good thing. And Lucasfilm never made a statement about it whatsoever, but very quietly, they did not include Rachel Butera in Star Wars Resistance, and they recast the voice of Leia. And that's in stark contrast to what we've had in 2021 last month with the furor that erupted over the host of the High Republic show, Christina Ariel, and tweets that she had posted around the Black Lives Matter movement and the George Floyd protests that were happening last year, and coming out very strongly and saying, we stand with Christina Ariel. And now with the Gina Carano situation and coming and making a public statement about that, Lucasfilm is definitely moving into a much more vocal and forward stance with these situations, which is refreshing to see. And circling back to the rumor about things being, fences being mended, there's apparently a different story on the Lucasfilm side, according to anonymous sourcing from the Hollywood Reporter. They are citing a source with knowledge of Lucasfilm's thinking about the decision, saying they've been looking for a reason to fire her for 2 months, and today was the final straw. Today being Wednesday, February 10th, the posts that happened that day. And to put that into further context, and this is just, more of the unfortunate stuff too, the article says that according to sources, Lucasfilm planned to unveil Carano as the star of her own Disney Plus series during a December Investors Day presentation, but scrapped those plans following tweets in November that happened after the election. It also says that they were going to potentially have her be as part of Rangers of the New Republic too, and obviously that's not going to happen now either. So that's where the official reporting stands right now as I record this on Thursday evening. It's sad, ultimately. I'm just sad. Obviously, Gina Carano has the right to free speech, has the right to say what she wants to say, and Disney also has the right to decide who is going to best represent their brand, and same with Lucasfilm as well. But imagine that you're Gina Carano's best friend. What do? Do you tell her, look, Gina, keep your mouth shut. If you want to keep this job, keep your mouth shut. Or do you say, look, if these things are important to you, then you have to use your platform and speak up? But ultimately, I think, the stories of Star Wars stand for a certain kind of way of being in this world. And I think not only was it the right decision for Lucasfilm to not continue to work with Gina Carano in this case, but the fact that they are becoming more public with their statements about these sorts of situations, I think that is a remarkable and welcome evolution that's happening right there. As a fan, though, I have to say I hope the story of Cara Dune continues, and whether that means recasting the character, which I know is not always an attractive proposition for studios. I know that Adam Christopher, for example, is writing a Mandalorian novel. We have no idea where in the timeline that takes place, and even if it's in the right timeline, whether Cara Dune is a part of it or not. But I certainly hope that the character of Cara Dune somehow continues, certainly in other media at the very least, because I do think she was a compelling character with an interesting backstory, and it would be sad to deprive fans of the character just because of what happened with the actor. And that is where we're going to leave things with the discussion of Gina Carano on this episode, and that's where we're going to leave this episode as well. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for the show, as always, and may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
Star Wars 7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.